The next I wish to share with you about IoT in production. I mean, how you, when you develop things, how you take them to production. One of the key aspects that you have to look into when you take things to production is that you have to be very careful not to basically just design an application and move on to the next project. So one of the problems that we face in academia as well as in industry is that a lot of people, they have not been told to think in the platform front. So a lot of them, they think in the product way or in the service way. So they do a project and they run away from that to another project. So that's not how you do an IoT based development. An IoT based development is that, okay, you build up a platform. Say, for example, you take up the EtherCalc application, which I'll just share with you, and try and evolve it over the time. I mean, work for it, work on it for at least say 20 years or 15 years. You can start it as a hobby and then you can take it professionally, and then try and do a lot of testing. Do all kinds of testing, like A/B testing is just on the interface front. Do stress testing. So stress testing, like I'll give you an example. The $100 laptop on which I worked on, what we used to do was we were initially thinking of deploying it in, you can say, Chennai, Mumbai, and for example, near Goa also, there was interestingly a school over there. So when we thought of deploying it, so one of the problems that we faced was that it was designed in Massachusetts, in Boston. And the problem was that in Boston, the humidity levels were pretty reasonable. And in Mumbai, Chennai, and other places, the humidity level goes pretty high. Now, the point is that when we have to design a solution where the humidity level is very high, we need to do the testing of the device using humidifiers. So what we did was, in India, we call it as jugaad, but in US, it was like stress testing. What we did was we took the laptops, we put them in the ovens, we set the humidifier level accordingly, and we looked at the application functions for a lot of applications. In fact, I worked on 4 or 5 key applications on the software front as well. One was a paint application, the other was a spreadsheet application. The third was a reading application, like an ebook reader. And the fourth was, interestingly, a game application. So for all these applications, we put the laptop in the oven and we observed how it performs, how those applications perform when we keep them in the oven, when we keep the laptops in the oven, how do we have the engagement models and how we look into the overall performance of the application in the oven. So those kind of things we looked into. And this is exactly what you need to do. I mean, you need to do all kinds of testing. The other thing is, when we said that this laptop was meant for kids, we did a stress testing by throwing them from a certain height, because that's a very common use case. People keep throwing their devices, and how robust and what kind of materials we are using for the overall structure of the laptop that prevents it from becoming non-operational when it falls from a certain height. So we looked into those aspects as well. So these are like some of the key aspects that which you need to look into when you have looking into IoT in production. You definitely have to do performance measurements, but also you have to look into the sturdiness, you have to look into the modularity, you have to look into how, if certain components get broken, how you can make them reusable and extensible. So those kind of things have to be looked into. Finally, I mean, you have to look into what kind of innovation kits you can have. So we had SDKs, which is software development kits. We have SDKs, which is hardware development kits, which were being evolved on this particular set of devices for improving engagement. And also we have an open innovation path. So you can always build up a workflow structure or a milestone structure for delivering, for scaling, for exploring, for discovery and design, and even for awareness. So all of these things have to be structurally in a systematic way dealt with. So I mean, you have to deal with all these things in a profound way so that you develop a solution which can be utilized end to end. Now, before I make things boring, let me get into some of the applications that we can get into. So these are like some examples on IoT in production. And of the kind of experience and expertise that you need. I mean, surely you need some experience at the base level. You should be very good in physics, mathematics, if you're a high school student, and you should know programming. You should know JavaScript, HTML, CSS on the front end. And on the back end, you should definitely know Python. And you should also be aware of using a cloud service like Amazon Web Service, Google Cloud Service, OpenStack, which is the open source solution. You should also be aware of using Nginx Web Server. Finally, I mean, this is on the application front. Now, what on the embedded systems front? So for that, I have made a separate presentation that what are the concepts you should know on how to develop an embedded and an IoT-based system at the Leaf node. So we'll cover that next. Yeah, so I'll move on to the next presentation, which is IoT Leaf node design and the software part also. So very quickly, let me share with you some links before I move on to the next presentation. And which is that one is that I would recommend you to check out ethercalc.net. It's a simple web-based spreadsheet It is also available in open source, which will enable you to get started in a very quick way. So I would definitely recommend you to check out EtherCalc and start tinkering around with that. Second thing, in the blockchain front, so you have all the functionalities that you have in a regular spreadsheet, but it's an IoT based application. So you can tinker with the source code, you can make contributions to it. The backend of it is developed in Node.js, and the front end of it is in JavaScript and CoffeeScript. I would like you to use this particular spreadsheet for doing all kinds of things. You can make up an alarm clock application for yourself where you can do all the logging and monitoring at the backend using this particular application. You can make a billing application. You can use a ledgering application, a checkbook register kind of an application, an employee schedule application if you are running a company. I mean, if you wish to do things like blood pressure register, blood sugar level register, or blood glucometer, or if you wish to do a medication log, all these kind of things you can develop on this particular application. In fact, I wish to share with you, I've developed around 3,000 applications on this particular spreadsheet itself. And a lot of them are on the stores. You can check them out. So I would also like to share with you one more key aspect. So a lot of you believe in decentralized systems. You don't like systems to be centralized. For that, I would recommend you to check out blockchain. And I would like you to even check out the Ethereum blockchain in particular, because Ethereum blockchain is using some very key concepts around that. And I mean, you can make systems decentralized using Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, Cardano, and also Filecoin. So these are like some of the systems that I would like you to check out for decentralized development using blockchain. I would also like you to check out Sugar Labs. Sugar Labs is what I worked on for almost, I would say 14, 15 years now. And Sugar Labs is a very interesting project on developing an operating system for education, for healthcare, and for all kinds of things where everything is hackable. So you can make things, do it yourself. So how you can learn by doing things. So Sugar Lab teaches you that. And I've worked on around 10 applications on Sugar Labs when I was a student and even after that. And it's a wonderful way to get started. So you can basically get sugar right from the Sugar Labs link, and you can get it on all kinds of systems. You can get it on Windows also, but these are some of the Linux systems on which you can get it. You can even get it on Raspberry Pi, EXO, which is the $100 OLPC laptop, on BeagleBone also. And finally, you can try it out on a variety of low-cost embedded devices. So these are like some of the things which I would like you to check out. Finally, I would like you to get a snapshot on what I was referring to when I talked about the $100 laptop. I mean, how it looks like. I think that will be very, very interesting. In fact, we had Mr. Kofi Annan. He was the one who presented this laptop to a lot of African students. And interestingly, it was utilized considerably in 2000, from 2005 to 2015 onwards. I mean, for the last 10 years, it was pretty good in Africa, South America. In Asia, it was there in a certain way, but in these continents, it was very much utilized. I would like you to see the picture also of the laptop that we worked on. In fact, that will give you an idea. So these are the two antennas which enabled communication without the internet that we had. This was the monitor that we had. So basically, you could use this laptop as a tablet by folding it out. So this monitor was foldable, and you could use it as an ebook reader, and also you could use it as a laptop. And the keyboards, I worked on Devanagari keyboard. I was also interested in developing the Tamil keyboard and a lot of other keyboards like Bengali keyboard for India. And I also worked on the Spanish keyboard, the English keyboard, and the other keyboards as well. So I'll be interested in sharing with you some pointers related to that. Finally, I mean, one of the key aspects of this particular laptop at its time was the sunlight readability. So sunlight readability was something which was of absolute concern when designing the device. So we looked into that aspect. It used a flash-based storage system. So at that time, flash-based storage system was one which enabled us to bring the cost down considerably. And we basically had our own access server, which is the school server that we utilized. And finally, I mean, we had these game control buttons for playing games. So you could see them right over here, the 4 game control buttons. And you could also charge this particular laptop using a crankshaft. The interesting thing over here was that although it came with an adapter, but in places where there was low or no electricity, so we basically had a hand crankshaft, which we could connect with the USB drive, using which we could charge this particular laptop just by doing exercises that we do at the gym, basically. So you don't really require a consistent power supply to utilize these laptops. So the learning that I wish to share with you from this particular experience is that when you're designing a system, think about all these aspects so that at the end of the day, your device is something which is also useful for the environment, and you're not basically developing something which stays in for a while and then it goes to the trash. And I mean, how you can make it extensible, how you can keep the battery and everything optimal, how you develop applications which are not obese. I mean, you would not like 50% of your laptop managing the other 50%. Like what we have in India is that we have a large population. And as a result of large population, I mean, we have like most of the people managing others. Whereas, I mean, it should be more do it yourself. I mean, systems should be talking to each other, but they should also be working. And this is exactly what we thought about in this particular product. And this is exactly the learning which I wish to share with you when you're doing things. Now, let me get on to some of the solutions that I have worked on. And I would also like you to, I would like you to walk you through the leaf node design guidelines for IoT. I'll cover up it in a brief way so that you get an understanding of what we are talking about at the hardware level also. But before I do that, let me just share with you some of the things I worked on. I have made websites for each of the solutions I designed. So I'd worked on an integrated water management solution for India and for a lot of other countries. And we basically are using a whole series of IoT-based devices for doing that. You can check it up on this particular site. I have also worked on a couple of other solutions. Let me very quickly play around all these particular solutions that I've worked on. One is electronic health records as a service. Then there is one educational device which was gifted to me by Switzerland. So Switzerland, they created an IoT ball and they asked me if you could create an educational solution. And the solution which I worked on was how you can make a ball work around in such a way that it is a good learning system. So we taught Newton's 3 laws of physics using this particular ball that we had, which is an IoT ball, which was communicating with the phone that we had. We also worked on some road safety solutions. So we had some of the road safety based devices and drone management devices that we worked on. Like, let me very quickly show you the drone system. So for drones, we worked on the real estate solution, which was like enabling effective management and communication setup using modular IoT gateway device for drones utilized in construction, operation, and maintenance. So this was a solution that we did for drone management and maintenance. There was one on road safety as well, which I'll just share with you so that you get a sense of the kind of things we worked at. So I'll just get you through that while I'm sharing the presentation. Yeah, now let me show you the IoT leaf node designs so that you get a sense of what all things we covered up over here. So we basically, so specifically in the road safety aspect, so we looked into the characteristics of the leaf node. We looked into special cases. We looked into the microcontroller solutions. We looked into the development tools. I'll also be sharing with you some case studies that you can look into when you are designing an IoT solution at the hardware front. So we looked into, I mean, these things are some very basic concepts like how you can read about IoT and other things. But the main aspect is that we looked into the sensor node, the data reduction node, and the internet gateway. And these were the 3 different postures that we have for designing an IoT-based node. The second thing which we looked into is the IoT node characteristics, which is the leaf node parameter, the sub parameter, which is a subcategory, and also the range values. So this is the same concept which we applied in the $100 laptop as well. We had the sensor characteristics, we had the computational requirement, we had the size, we had the operating energy, we had the communication. Then we had the leaf node for IoT, which was a special case of embedded systems. So we looked into IP devices, controller, output devices, host, power supply, and communication network. We looked into the inputs, which was the user input. We had the sound, we had the distance, we had the temperature for doing IoT-based design development. We also had the light sensor, the strain, relative position, image, and time. So we looked into all these key aspects. Then we had the outputs. We had the, again, in the form of light, visual output, sound output, temperature, and position. So position we could also use in micro stepping mode using stepper motor or solenoids. We also had the output in the form of flow, haptic, and print. So these were the haptic one is specifically utilized in a lot of accessible systems. So if you're interested in developing accessible systems, it is something which is very much used over there. These are some microcontrollers which we looked into, and the key aspects around that. I mean, you have to look into the processor, the memory, the data storage, the digital input output pins, the communication interfaces, and also analog to digital converter kind of systems. So those kind of things are very much important. Then I wish to share with you some of the modern microcontrollers that you should definitely be aware of. Specifically, I would like you to check out FPGA-based microcontrollers. I think that is something which is used a lot these days. There are a lot of things which are happening around that corner. In fact, at IIT Chennai, they're developing a Swadeshi processor using a very interesting FPGA board. I would, these are like some of the features of the modern microcontrollers. I mean, what I wish to share with you is that when you think about modern microcontrollers, the reason why I'm sharing all these things to you is some kind of a reference. I mean, so that you keep these things in mind when you're developing a embedded system or a hardware system. Then, I mean, you should look into the clock scalability, the voltage parameters, operating mode methods, the signal capabilities. I mean, these are some of the things that you should be looking into. You should also look into the communication methods. As I mentioned to you in the application, that there are various methods for general purpose communication and specialized communication. So those are something very, very important. And also the mixed signal capability and the mixed signal requirement. So you should also look into special functions, the in-system programming methods and in-application programming methods, the on-chip debug methods, and also some of the development tools that you should check out. I mean, you could check out open source solutions around development platform, assembler, simulator, evaluation board, program download tool, emulator, and or OCD. So these are like some of the things you should check out. I mean, some of the examples around this are Starship XP, Voyager. You can check out Voyager, which is a very interesting cross-platform motherboard. An IoT framework. I mean, you could develop an application. It's a cloud-based application that you're seeing over here, which is a smart flower pot, which you could do all kinds of measurement using that. I mean, these are like some of the active projects that I have been collaborating. Like I know that one of my advisor and friend is working on. Then what are the parts of microcontroller? You should always think about the clock part, the reset part, the power supply part, and the program download capability part. So these are like some of the things that you should think about in terms of microcontroller. You should think about the clock subsystem. Clock subsystem is something which is of key importance in any IoT-based device. Then you should select a suitable controller for all the key aspects so that your controllers A, B, and C, I mean, have the appropriate set of parameters and thinking correctly done. You should also look into the algorithmic complexity. And for algorithms, you should check out there's some very good books on MIT OpenCourseware and edX platform. I would recommend you to check them out. They will enable you to do some very good learning. Also on GitHub, you should check out. And a lot of good open source projects are also there on Google Summer of Code. So I would recommend you to check out Google Summer of Code. You have the reset subsystem. I mean, you should check out the reset subsystem. The power supply requirements of modern ICs. I mean, these are like some of the things that enable you to develop something where you have optimal power consumption. Then finally, I mean, there are some power supply parameters also. So those are some of the things that you should be looking into, like sources of power, battery technologies, and also topologies. Then finally, you should look into the grid power. I mean, what kind of methods that you have for powering the system. Then you have polarity, you have linear regular topologies. And so for example, in polarity, you should know about all these kind of systems. For linear regular topologies, you should know these set of things. Then finally, you should have the 3-terminal linear regulator. I mean, you should check the structure of that. And finally, the contemporary linear regulators. I mean, so these are like some of the regulation methods that you should be aware of. And also then the switching methods, the different kind of switching regulators that you can use. And so these are like some of the things that you should be aware of. Then various power supply topologies, you should be aware about them. And also the various power supply methods that you have. I mean, how you can use them, even the thermoelectric ones. Then, I mean, there are various case studies for that. One, we have a linear power supply for embedded processors. Then we have a linear plus switched power supply for embedded processors. And finally, we have a battery powered dual output power supply, which is just an example over here. And then we have the power optimization front, which is the active sleep and power down mode. I mean, we should be aware about that. Then we should be aware of the power consumption versus supply voltage fronts and power source issues front. And also the battery characteristics, program download capability, communication links, electronic glue methods, IoT related local activities. I mean, these are like some of the things that we should be aware of. So, so these are like some of the things which I wish to share with you so that, I mean, you get a sense of what are the things you should be aware of when designing a system. I would recommend you to check out the OLPC systems. So they will give you a very good idea on how you you really go forward with the IoT design guidelines for the leaf node design. With this application. I had personally worked on the XO laptop, the XO 1.5 laptop, the XO 1.75 also, and XO 1 as well. So I think this is all what I would love to cover today.